how's it going?
Pretty good, brother. Did I tell you my story about the restaurant, that one time?
Oh,
Well, not one time, but all the time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I used to work as a lot of people work at restaurants, right? When they go to college or whatever. I mean, everybody's like a waiter or waitress, a cook or a dishwasher or something, right? And so I used to work at this really fancy place here in town, one of these country clubs. Up on the hills, you go up and see the whole city. It was a very expensive place to be. We'd have these buffets lined up with salads that I'd make, tuna salad, chicken salad, all kinds of broccoli salads and everything. It was just, we had like 20 of these salads in big bowls, and stuff at these buffets. Well, yeah, like at most buffets, people eat some of the salads, but they're going to go for the other stuff too, right? And they're going to fill themselves up, oh, I'm too full for salad, So what happens to all that salad at the end of the day? Whoosh, down to disposal, okay? Dumping them down. And we turn on that big industrial disposal. It's going, it's just grinding all that stuff up down into the sewage system. I mean, you're talking about 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds of food every night sometimes. Well, and that's just one restaurant. So you think about all that waste.
Since there is a lot of ocean overfishing, we may be depending more on inland fisheries, but they have problems associated with unhealthy fish, pollution, and environmental degradation.
Is there a problem with our fishes in the oceans and the lakes and the seas right now?
I think there is. There's the question of sustainability. Is the practice sustainability now? Because we're going to need more like meat sources as the population grows. But the way that we're fishing right now is we're overfishing the oceans. So they say I think up to 90% is becoming unsustainable. Like they're not able to replenish the populations of the fish.
Yeah, it's scary.
So 90%. So that just means in several decades we may run out of fish to fish from the ocean. So at that point, our choices are doing inland fisheries.
So that's a problem. So we need inland fisheries, I guess, maybe at this point as a stopgap measure to sort of help us. So that's not a bad thing, but is the fish real healthy from those fisheries right now? Or is it good for the environment? There's a couple questions there.
Yeah, for both. I think there are problems for both of them. Again, for the environment and for health.
That's right.
They tend to grow a lot of fish in there. So when you have a large population of fish, you have to control the waste that they have. So in order to control the waste, they have to put in chemicals like pesticides and fish additives and other things. Antibiotics, to make sure that the fish don't, that they don't get a lot of diseases.
Right.
But we just end up adding more chemicals, and they get eventually sick anyways. So you just add more, and then all that stuff gets into the waterways because you have to do something with the wastewater. And it gets in and makes a bigger problem for the ocean. So yeah, it is a problem, and in fact, they see that it does a lot of ecosystem disruption, habitat loss, from the inland because of that as well.
Right. Now, another thing is global warming. The warming of the oceans helping the fish population or hurting the fish population?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's, for the most part, it's disrupting it and probably making it worse because the warmer waters have some effects on the fish, the oxygen levels, and then the migration of the fish. There's some adverse things about the water for the fish.
That's not helpful. So, man, when you're talking about gutting the fish, and now there's a lot of waste from that when they process the fish too, right? So that's all just gets, spilled out into the waste, wherever they put their waste, whether it's in the landfills or down the drain or whatever. That's going to be undigested materials. It's going to take a while to decompose, so that's not good either.
There are several kinds of pollutants that come from fisheries. Because of this, we need to make fisheries more sustainable with better aquaculture systems.
Yeah, there's several kinds of pollutants, and we mentioned it before, but a lot of it too is the excess nitrogen and phosphorus that come from them, and that causes algal blooms, which affects the oxygen content in the water, and the organics from the pesticides and all the hormones. Those actually do something. They do increase the biological oxygen demand, which affects the oxygen supply as well.
Right.
and then you have like sediments, and so there's all these things, these pollutants, kind of pollutants that you get from the wastewater from the fish that causes problems. The the parasites and viruses and diseases, like that's all things that could happen. So, what do you think are the solutions to make it more sustainable? For these fisheries, like what should we do to make it?
Well, they need to be healthier, right? They need to be not just good food sources, which would help, right? But we need to make the fisheries something where they're not so needing so much antibiotics and other things that help curb the disease from that the fishers are getting, right? So I think also as we maybe could use the fisheries to maybe stock more of the riverways and lakes and stuff up in northern Arizona. There's a lot of that going on where they're trying to.
And my mom took me there one time, like in the Apache Indian Reservation. It's right on the border. Like in the Apache, there's a bunch of nice lakes and rivers,
right.
Really fresh and pristine and stuff. And they have little hatcheries where they give them good food and they raise the fish and then they release them into
the wild, which is much healthier. So I think stocking those environments where it's healthy for the fish and then people can fish those, that's another probably a little piece of the puzzle that can help that solution. They'll help that problem as well.
There is a lot of food waste that causes environmental problems. We could be using that food waste to feed animals like fish and chicken, sometimes raising insects off of the food waste.
Because there's a lot of food waste out there that's not being used.
So what should we do with all that waste?
Well,
that's
if I had that waste, I'd be feeding that to my chickens. Is what I'd be doing. Or like I know that a lot of pig farmers, they want to do the same thing.
Yeah, why not have dedicated controlled environments where you use food waste to grow the insects and then you transport that and give it to the fish and the chickens? That seems like the best solution.
That is a great solution, brother. That's great. That's a great one. I think we could do it. I think it would be.
I think we're onto something good because converting it into other food sources is the way to go.
Yeah.
Because the other animals could eat it. That's a good way of solving the problem.
What's the problem with dumping the food waste down the disposal or into the trash?
It pollutes the water. I mean, not only with the nutrients, but also with more microbial life. That could be harmful to you as well.
You remember you talking about how when they used to dump grease down the drain, now we're dumping food down the drain. But what did they do to solve that problem? When they were filling up
grease waste. Yeah, well, they have grease traps now. Like I used to work at a restaurant too.
I remember that. Yeah.
And this was in the 80s. And every night, like we used to just spray down the floors. Like it would take us an hour to spray down, and all that grease would go down the drain.
Yeah.
That became so much of a problem for the sewer systems that now they do install grease traps, and then trucks come regularly to get that grease from the grease trap, and they convert that into brown grease and resell it. So like we can do the same thing with the food waste. Why not do something like that?
Can the government implement something like that so that they have to manage how much waste is being thrown down the drain? The farmers could come and make arrangements to pick it up or whatever. You could have a certain amount of where you have to say so much percentage of that food waste has to be reused for something else agriculturally. And I think that would be a big step. I think if we were to regulate that a little bit, if the government wants to do something about, because all that food waste is causing, to me, more problem with off-gassing and more global warming. It's also causing a problem with wastewater and all the waste management problems. And then it's taking the food sources we could use to feed other viable food sources like fish and chicken, situation with the bugs like you're talking about, so we can feed those to the fishes and chickens. And then we have that problem solved because we waste just tons and tons of food every day in this country. And did you know, I told you before, but like in Europe and places when I used to live in Germany, you weren't allowed to throw your food waste away in the trash. You had to put it in the bio trash container, and then they had a bio recycling place along with their cans and bottles and stuff. But you had to throw that waste in too. All right, very good.
All right.
Okay, well, next time we wish you good luck in your climate change responsibilities and helping the earth to heal. And having good food sources.
All right. Until then, see you.
See you later.